because we got a very special guest joining us here on the Meijer Supercenter guest line on X's and Bros. By the way, that's Danny and Ryan. I'm Anthony. Joining us from Michigan Golf Live. Find him on Twitter at MGL Bill Hobson. This guy hits nothing but bombs down the middle. Short game is immaculate. The putting stroke I hear at the Rocket Mortgage Media Day was just phenomenal. Bill, good morning to you, my friend. How are you? How's life? How are things, partner?
The reports are greatly exaggerated. I'd like to make sure that my handicap does not adjust anywhere, so we'll just go with it's a struggle.
Oh, Bill, he's modest, too. He is modest. You know what Dan said? Dan said he is a very, very good golfer. And when Dan says that, Bill, I know you have some game. Now, there's a lot of folks out there with a lot of good game on the PGA Tour and the LIV Tour. These two tours combined, it is the talk of the town. This news breaks yesterday. First thing that comes to your mind?
Betrayal. It was a shock to the system of everybody who is involved in the game. In fact, we spent the day at Rocket Mortgage Media Day, and had anybody there had any inkling of anything like this coming, it certainly would have been a part of the conversation. It was not. Jay Monahan is on record. I have a soundbite that I'm using on my show Saturday where he tells Jim Nantz that he's so proud to be the commissioner of a tour where nobody has to apologize for being on the tour. And this is from, 2 years ago. I'm wondering now if there are apologies that need to be issued. And as reports come out of the players-only meeting yesterday with Monahan, it was like a Jerry Springer episode in there. These folks are not very happy, many of them having turned down offers of hundreds of millions of dollars to leave the tour and go play on LIV Golf, and they didn't because of promises they were given, and now look what's happening. So it's a very strange time. To me, it's one of the biggest stories in modern golf history, and not for very many good reasons.
Well, one of the biggest stories in modern sports history, right? I mean, we've never seen anything like this, Bill. And my first thought here was it was kind of on two sides of the coin. One, LIV players got what they wanted, right? All the guys that defected to the Saudi tour, they got their big payday, however that money works out and whatever checks they collected. They made a whole bunch of money in 2022 and 2023, right? And whether that money, they get the full terms of their contract or not, we'll have to wait and see what happens. And the other side of that coin is, man, all the guys that didn't defect, it really felt like they got the screw.
And they did. You look at some of the guys who made very bold proclamations about why they would never leave the tour. They talked about its history, its tradition. They talked about Mr. Palmer and Mr. Nicklaus and how they had similar invitations, albeit for much less money. And they took a stand on grounds of human rights protection and morality. And now their commissioner just went. The commissioner, by the way, who works for them. The players employ the commissioner. And so I don't know if he's going to continue being the commissioner for long. I'm sure he thinks that he is. But there are some very upset guys out there, because the other part of this that can really come back to cause some issues is, do you just welcome back the players who left, and now they come back, $200 million richer, having tried to harm the tour that made them? And are they supposed to just walk back into the locker room and, hey, everybody, how's it going? Nope, nobody's been clamoring to see Patrick Reed come back to the PGA Tour. Nope, it's a mess on top of a mess on top of a mess, and all of it fueled by both greed and I think the fear of ongoing litigation, which the PGA Tour has been trying to hold off for a lot of years. You'll notice as part of the announcement, they decided to create a for-profit corporation. Part of the tour's challenges over all these years has been operating as a nonprofit that puts you in a certain category for how you have to handle your money. And now suddenly, now that the Saudis are involved, it's okay. We'll just be for-profit. I'm telling you guys, this thing stinks from the top on down. It's messy and it's ugly.
You know, Bill, when I saw that, and in my mind, I'm trying to figure out exactly how they're going to maintain their 501 C6 tax exemptions here, and are the actual, and we don't know the answer to this, but is your first thought and inclination maybe the same as mine, is that the tour events themselves and the funds that those generate, those will maintain the PGA tax status while the paychecks come from LIV as the private investment fund from the Saudis, whatever we're going to call that. Do you think that will be financing the actual players?
Well, here's what I know for sure. There is nothing more scintillating for golf fans to talk about than how these accountants and CPAs are going to figure all this out. It's just fantastic. It should be its own reality show. I don't know. It's minutia that will take years, I think, to unfold. The lawyers will get rich as usual. The problem that I have is what happens at the local level. So, for instance, we're all very excited that the Rocket Mortgage Classic's coming here in about 2.5 weeks. It's a great event, and it makes a huge impact on the local scene from a charitable standpoint. It's real. The dollars are real, or the organizations and the people that are helped are real. All of this stuff only serves to distract from that kind of a storyline because it sweeps up all the oxygen in the room. So one of the things that irritates me the most about Jay Monahan, aside from his duplicitous betrayal of the guys that were believing the things he was saying, is the timing of it all. If you want to do all of this, if you want to have your moment in the sun and you want to break this big news, why didn't you do it in the dead of winter? Why are we doing this in the early part of June, in the core part of your season, a week before the U.S. Open, a couple weeks before the Rocket Mortgage Classic, when ticket sales are important, when we just had a great conversation with Tony Finau at the media day, and this is a guy that's as big a star and as humble a star as you could ever hope to be associated with your game, and now those stories get swept to the side because I know all we're going to hear for the next few weeks is all about this matter. So I say all that because the commissioner, truly acting in the best interest of those he represents, needs to take a course in timing, in PR, and in crisis management. And it looks like Jay Monahan just got the job from Indeed.com, and on day one decided to overhaul the entire world of golf. And I think it's been mangled.
Well, I tell you what, Bill Hobson came prepared with his thesaurus. I think I heard duplicitous and minutia in like one paragraph there. I mean, that's just incredible. By the way, find Bill on Twitter at MGL Bill. Find the podcast there as well. It's golf all the time. We love that. Now, Bill, when we look at the influx of players that defected to the LIV Tour that will be coming back, when we look, we'll try to take the 30,000 feet view here. Isn't it a good thing now that there is, moving forward into 2024, that all of these guys are back, despite the fact that they might hate each other in the locker room, we'll put all the feelings aside. Isn't it going to be a good thing for golf that we might see, whether you love them or hate them, Phil Mickelson, guys like Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, some of these names back on this tour?
Yes, it is good from a competitive standpoint. I mean, Brooks Koepka is a major champion as recently as a couple weeks ago. Dustin Johnson, fantastic. Although I haven't yet seen anybody clamoring to see more of Patrick Reed. But part of this unanswered question is that Monahan in his rollout, and one of the reasons that many of us think his hand was forced into rolling this out sooner than he wanted to, is he had literally no answers to anything. The questions are, those guys coming back? Well, we're still working through a lot of issues, and in the days to come. That seems like a fairly important question to have your answer teed up for. So I don't know if it's an automatic that they will come back, or if they do, what the pathway will be. All right, so you've taken $200 million to go to a rival league. We're going to fine you $100,000 to come back. Well, that's a pretty good deal, if that's how it happens. So I don't think we know all of the details for what that journey would look like. But to answer your question in less than 5,000 words, yes, I think that golf fans would enjoy the tension, the quality of play, There are good players out there on that LIV Tour. By the way, they were also misled by Greg Norman, who guaranteed them massive exposure, bigger than they've ever enjoyed before. And he lands a TV deal on the CW, which cuts away from the final holes of a tournament. He lands a deal on YouTube Live, where less people are watching than used to watch the old test patterns at 2 in the morning. He also guaranteed them that they could pick their tournaments and travel less, and that proved to be the polar opposite of what was expected of them. So I totally get the frustration of players who are thinking, is there anybody in leadership that we can trust anymore? And then I hear yesterday from Jeff Ogilvy, who's one of the more thoughtful guys on the Players Council, and he said, in the end, we are getting paid large amounts of money to hit a white ball across really nicely mown fairways and greens. We're pretty blessed. No argument. I'm blessed as well for being a part of the game, but that doesn't mean that those in charge have a blank check to just do whatever they feel like. They're supposed to be, as Costanza would say, we're living in a society here, people. There should be some rules, some expectations for at least the integrity of your word. And neither Monahan nor Norman have proven to be people of integrity through all of this.
Bill, I'm a golf traditionalist. I didn't like the LIV Tour from the beginning. 54 holes, no cut, guaranteed money. I think that's all a sham. So I didn't watch any of their stuff until Memorial Day weekend. I was in a hotel room, and one of my buddies is just a golf fanatic, and he threw it on. And I was like, okay, so they'll get my eyeballs. Like, I'm one of those. They'll get my eyeballs for these 2 hours. But after that, I'm out. And there were a couple things I did like about the actual presentation of the broadcast. I can do without the Skittles bag throwing up on the screen with their color palette of choice. But outside of that, I do like some of the different hole, the way that they actually put the whole description and the pictures on the screen. Like, I'm a visual person, big TV screen. I like to see the changing leaderboard. I like to see the bottom scroll that had all the different pin placements and the hole that the player was on and where their drive went, their second. I like some of the graphic stuff that they were trying to introduce to a golf broadcast. Was there anything, did you watch any of the LIV Tour? And if so, was there anything about the tour that you did like? Did you like the team element that they might try to bring in and maybe do some different events throughout this new hybrid tour that we're going to see?
There were a lot of attractive visual parts of that presentation, and keep in mind that LIV hired David Hill, who was from Fox Sports. He's the guy who brought us the first down line. He's the guy who brought us the glowing hockey puck, which was ridiculed back when it happened, and now everybody's using some sort of a tracer. So he's an innovator. He's a really smart guy when it comes to the visual presentation of things like golf and hockey and football and stuff that we've now come to adopt. I mean, can you imagine watching football without a first down line? Of course not. And he's the one who brought that. So they did a lot of things really well. The shotgun start's super confusing to follow on TV because it's hard to build drama when your contenders are not in the same group of holes. That's pretty tough to figure out. I get it that it helps with the pace of play and it gets your broadcast into a window. So that part I didn't like. The team aspect has a lot of interesting potential to it. I honestly don't think fans care that much about what the high flyers are doing or what the range goats are doing. We have come over the years to root for Tiger Woods. We have come to root for Jordan Spieth. We have come to root for individuals because they are individuals in a world where we're normally accustomed to team sports. I love seeing the pressure on a player, the pressure in a key moment to see how he or she can perform. We watched young Rose Zhang win her first ever tournament that she entered on Sunday afternoon. It's too bad that that's getting buried under all of this news. But we watch these individual moments of greatness without having this thought of, hey, if he makes this birdie, then the cliques could finish top two and get on the podium. That doesn't matter to anybody. And so that part of LIV has missed the boat. However, from what I'm seeing and reading from this coverage, it sounds like the Saudi representation really likes the team approach, which is, by the way, ironic that they're big into team efforts. But it sounds like that consideration is still on the table. I don't know that it's gone any further than that.
In the words of the great Max Homa on Twitter yesterday, as you referenced the cliques, he took a screenshot of a Google search. WTF is a clique, is what Max had said on the internet. Hey, Bill, I can't thank you enough for your time this morning, my friend. We greatly appreciate it. Let's reconvene and rally and talk some more golf here as soon as we get closer to the Rocket Mortgage Classic, my friend.
Absolutely. And by the way, the boys yesterday should know Detroit Golf Club better than even the membership, because they saw every last square inch of it. From the left,
saw every tree imaginable on that course.
Let's just say we all missed the cut together. We don't have to worry about a sponsor's invitation being extended to us. But it was fun to play with the guys. We had a great time. And there was, I think it was Danny made one of the most unlikely birdies, maybe in the history of the game, certainly in the history of media days. Rarely does a birdie begin with a shot clanging off of the grandstands, and yet that's what happened. You had to be there to see it. It was remarkable.
I saw the slow motion video, Bill, of Dan's majestic, we might have caught it a little thin. It was a line drive. Didn't want to be in the way of that thing, but thank God for that grandstand being a backstop. And Bill, I'm just glad you were there to be able to witness such an incredible athletic achievement.
Well, I'm just glad that the EMTs were nearby, because there were a couple of construction workers harmed in the filming of that moment.
Thank you so much, Bill. It's great to hear from you, my friend. Thank you.
You got it.
That's Bill Hobson. You can find him on Twitter at MGL Bill, host of Michigan Golf Live. So happy that he brought up the shot that clanked off the grandstand. That's fantastic.
Right off the grandstand.